Hey, my name is Ben Fraser. I'm the founder of Ready.Set.Van. We're an independent van conversion company based here in Trent, New Jersey. And today I have something that I am so excited to share with you guys. This is our very first transit build. As many of you know, we started on the Promaster platform, and then we built out a lot of layouts for the Sprinter platform. And now we're finally getting around to the transit platform. And I know there is a long list of people who are very excited and have been waiting a long time for us to have transit options. And so this is the very first one. It's a Highline build on a Transit 148. It's all-wheel drive. It's EcoBoost. It is sweet. And just as I was setting this up, I was looking at the shot here from the camera, and I was like, "Why do I look so small?" And and it's really funny, but it's like there is quite a bit of extra headroom in here, and it really does make a big difference. Just make it feel bigger inside. And so I'm pretty excited to talk about that, talk about a lot of details in here. There's just a lot to talk about. So yeah, let's crack into it. All right, so as I mentioned before, this is a Ford Transit 148 with the EcoBoost engine. It's all-wheel drive. It's a sweet van. I'm just going to talk about the van itself for just a second. People love that engine. I've only driven it probably 10 miles at this point, but it is very nice to drive. And there's something that's very different about the kind of ergonomics of it and the feel of it when compared to like the Promaster or the Sprinter, which is that especially in the Promaster, you're really kind of sitting up, and if you're almost up on top of the front wheels, you are behind them, but that's more of your relationship. And in here, you're really sitting behind the front wheels and a bit lower. And so in that way, when you hop in this, I feel like I'm in a minivan. Like it feels like, I've got more hood in front of me. All of the feel just feels very much like that. So anyway, that's different. I don't know if it's good or bad. I'm so used to driving my Promaster as my daily that it just felt very different. The van's really fantastic. It's really nice that it has all-wheel drive. I think it kind of fits in a nice spot between the Promaster and the Sprinter. Because it's all-wheel drive, you can't get the Promaster in all-wheel drive. The Sprinter is still going to be far better if you're planning on doing really rugged, any kind of off-road stuff, and you really want to kit the thing out, because the Transit is quite low. The clearance underneath is quite low. And that's one of the things that makes it possible to have so much headroom. It's because they managed to get the bottom of the body down really low. And so then they could create a lot of headroom inside without making the van super tall. This is about the same height as the Sprinter. So as a result, it's not the best for doing real off-road stuff and things like that because it is quite low and there are limited suspension options and stuff. So over on the side over here, right here, this is maybe 9 inches, 10 inches, something like that. And you can get, we can either put running boards on here or you can get them from the factory, and that brings it even lower. In fact, low enough that if we have the factory running boards on here and I go to try and slide under the van to go look underneath, I have a hard time getting under those running boards. That's how low it is. So something to think about. Let's get around the side over here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some things over there. So one of the things that actually kind of surprised me once we started building this out was discovering that actually in this van, it's possible to sleep east-west in this without having flares, without bumping out the sides of the van in the way that you would have to do with a Sprinter. So when I think about the Transit, I think of it as a bit narrow in the same way that the Sprinter is quite narrow. But it turns out it's actually not. And so we'll show you the bed obviously when we get inside. But the bed inside right now, when we go to basically wall to wall, is like 73 inches. And that's the same as in the Promaster. It's about 73 inches when we do the bed in there as well. In the Promaster, we can get it a little bit wider if we remove some stuff. But that was kind of a surprise. So, I'm sure we will end up doing lots of vans with flares installed because this van is very attractive for tall people because it's quite tall inside. So, and a tall person is going to want a bed that's a little bit more than 73 inches, so which is just over 6 feet. So that was sort of interesting, a bit of a surprise. We put in these bunk windows over here. I always talk about these awning windows that I really love. We can't put them on here because if you have an awning window that pops out, the first time you open your slider, it's going to smack into it and break. Ask me how I know. And we did that once, and we're like, okay, this is not a great idea. So I thought I'd mention that about the flares. I find it kind of surprising and exciting, actually, because flares are expensive. You got to get them painted. They're just expensive. And so it's nice that we'll be able to save some people some money. Up top, we got an Orion roof rack on here with 400 watts of solar. We've got our 9500 BTU AC unit, max fan, and we also got a 5G antenna up there. So here in the slider door, we were able to keep pretty much all the same features that have become standard in all of our Highline models, whether they're on a Promaster or on a Sprinter, or whether it's a Hudson. Basically any of the vans that we build that have a kitchen in the slider, we do this whole configuration, and it's just been really great. So I'll run through it quickly because I know everybody's kind of seen me talk about it a lot because I like it very much. So we have this fold-down table. Fold-down table is held in place with magnets, which is nice. And we have this little light right here that is just the right amount of intensity to be able to see what you're doing. And if you were at a dark campsite, you could still prep food out here and have a nice time. Or just see what you've put down here as well, of course. And actually, it also provides like a kind of nice soft light around the van as well, so it kind of helps illuminate the ground a little bit. So that's on a dimmer, of course, right here. And then we also have some USB outlets right here. So if you wanted to plug in your phone and just drop your phone here while you're doing something, of course, that would work out great as well. The magnets that are embedded in here that help keep it closed line up with magnets that are up in this knife block up here. So if you were prepping some food and you wanted to get some of your knives or cutlery or anything out of the way, you could just stick them up here while you're doing what you're doing. So of course, there's a 110 outlet over here as well. So if you wanted to grab a portable induction cooktop and stick it down here and do some cooking outside, which of course is always nice, that's a great place to do it. Also, what I often do is I'll take the portable cooktop. I always have a small extension cord with me. And, at a lot of campgrounds, there's just a picnic table, nearby. And so I'll just put it on the picnic table and plug it in off the side of my van. And that's really nice because if I ever have the opportunity to cook outside my van instead of inside my van, I'll always do it. It's just keep the heat out of the van, and pretty much all the time, the van for me is just an opportunity to be outside. And so if I can be outside, I will be outside. So that's really great. I love this. Oh, one thing that's different about this than on the Sprinter, for example, is because the van is so much lower, this table is a bit lower. So on the Sprinter, this comes in at about 32 inches off the floor. I'm not sure what this is, but it's a bit less. And so with the Sprinter, this table ends up working out perfectly as like a standing desk as well, which is something I love, is just slap my laptop down and do some work. I do it I do it in the shop next to our client vans all the time where I'm just making notes and stuff. So this is a little lower, so it wouldn't work as well for that. Of course, you could just throw a couple books or something under there to pick up your laptop. And then I don't know how many people would even be wanting to use it as a standing desk. Anyway, this fold-up leaf, I'm going to show it to you here because it's a little easier to see it. This is held in place with magnets as well. What we've done with this, instead of using the normal ratcheting hardware that people tend to use for their fold-up leaves, that number one, rattle a lot. There's basically no way to stop them rattling. We've tried. They also add about 1.25 inches of thickness. So that just takes up 1.25 inches of thickness here, which is not that desirable. And then when you open them up, you have all of this hardware here that's exposed. They ratchet really loudly. I just don't like them. So instead, what we do is we have a heavy-duty drawer slide that's tucked into the kitchen there, and you pull that out. That drawer slide's rated for a few hundred pounds. So this thing is really solid, and it makes a really nice extension on the kitchen. And then also, something that was important to me, just aesthetically, is that there's just nothing here, so you don't have all this bracketry visible. It's just very nice and open. It just looks better. So anyway, that's we do that pretty much on all of our Highlines, the Hudson, etc. I'm sure you've seen a bunch of it. All right, let's get inside. So I just set this shot up again, and I'm still kind of blown away on just how much bigger it looks in here on camera, and it feels bigger in here as well. But it really is a big difference having this extra height, I have to say. I just really, I guess I hadn't really thought about it much before, and it's really nice, I have to say. This allowed us to run a bigger window here than we do certainly in the Promaster. So this window is the same size window that we put in our Hudson. Of course, you know how much I love this window. I just love the whole vibe and everything. Being able to sit here with this window open, the slider open. I've talked about that so many times, but I do love it very much, and it's really nice being able to run this extra large window, because more window is more better as far as I'm concerned. Of course, this has a blackout shade and a bug screen here as well. Up above me here is our front overhead. We put in these linear LEDs, and one of the things actually about the Transit, geometrically, it's very peculiar. There are a lot of odd shapes. It is in the realm of sort of what's easy to build, easy to hard. The Promaster is the easiest to build on. Sprinter is next after that, and then the Transit has just a lot of weird shapes. So it took a little while for us to get that all dialed in. Fortunately, we had all the CAD files for the whole van, so our designer was able to really save a lot of time by just getting everything he made just fit. It was kind of amazing. So that was really nice. But if you're ever looking at Transit builds as we did, because as we were developing this, we were spending a lot of time being like, okay, how did other people solve this problem? And one of the problems with the Transit is what I always call the forehead on the Transit. It's just very long, and the bend doesn't really stop until like up here, which is very unusual. Usually it stops like around at the end of the cab. This area up here, often most builders, if you look around, either don't show photographs of it because they're not very proud of it, or they just sort of put there's some plastic parts that you can get that you can stick up there, and some people just put those up. We really didn't want to do that because it's just inconsistent with the rest of our build, and it comes so far into the space that it just, I don't know, it was just not going to be great aesthetically. So we created this sort of geometric bend and followed the shape of the van. And I think it's actually quite beautiful. It has almost like a vaulted ceiling vibe to it, which I really love. This front overhead, then we had to follow that shape as well. So in the front compartment here, we left it open instead of having a door on it, because you can't really put a door on a shape like that. But I actually kind of love these open cubbies, and I think this one's going to be really nice because, for me, if this was my van, I always travel with like 2 or 3 books, so I would keep my books in there. And then, I always have usually some citrus, maybe I have some fruit if I'm lucky. And, things that you would normally have out on your counter at home, I have in my van. And actually in my van, they're in a bowl inside one of my overheads. And I would love to have it outside because, they're cheerful, they're bright, yellows and greens. And I think it would just be nice. So I would actually very, very much like this open cubby myself. This cabinet right up here behind me can house a microwave. This van doesn't have a microwave, but we can stick one in there, if somebody needs one. Below me here, we got one big drawer. Of course, the Webasto heater unit is also below me. And then over on the kitchen side, one of the things that was really nice as well about having this extra height in the van is we were able to run an overhead the full length of the van on the passenger side. Because we have all that extra height, it's just up out of the way. That's such a huge, huge upgrade. Number one, just because of all of the storage. We're able to add this really nice linear LED over the kitchen, so it's really well illuminated, which is important for me because I'm getting older. I turned 50 this year, and my vision is crap. When I'm making food, having bright light is kind of important to me, and so that's a really, really nice setup. And we'll talk about it in the bed area when we get there. But yeah, let me get up and I'll talk about the kitchen a little bit. Okay, so now that I'm standing, you can kind of see how much room we got here. So, I'm 5'10" or 11 if I really, really try hard to stand up straight and tall. But you can see there's quite a lot of room here. It's pretty great. So this is our kitchen. They decided to go with all black accents, which look fantastic. We got a nice black sink here. We got one of these guys that can spray all around, so that's nice. We have a trash compartment down here. In this kitchen also is our gray tank for the kitchen. We build all our vans so that they're 4-season capable. And One of the ways we do that is we actually keep the gray tank for the kitchen inside the van. That way it can't freeze. You can be in the most, the most coldest conditions, and it'll be just fine. The gray tank for the shower we actually put under the van because gravity. That also works fine as long as you just keep the valve open for that gray tank, so your shower water just spills out, relatively quickly. And because it's hot water, when you're taking a shower, it usually all pretty much goes out, and it's never an issue. So anyway, that's something to know about the gray tanks. We've got an 80-liter fridge here. Big drawer here. We have an induction cooktop. We can do a single or a double. I really prefer the single and recommend then just carrying an extra single, like a portable one, that either you could set up two side by side or you could set one outside, something like that. It gives you a lot of flexibility. Of course, we got a bunch of drawers behind me here, big drawers. They're not super wide in this van, unfortunately, but there are a whole bunch of them. And down at the bottom there is a special step drawer that's got heavy-duty drawer slides and a lid on it that you can step on to get up into bed. So that's pretty handy. Over here, we got a whole bunch of control stuff. This is our, obviously, to turn on our inverter. We got our dimmers here, the temperature control for our Wobastos, or heat control. It's really nice having that right next to the bed because you can just set it how you want it. This switch here is actually for our electric automatic drawer lock. So when you turn on your van, there are electromagnets that engage the back of every drawer back here and lock them, just pull them in with magnetic strength and keep them locked. And it's a surprising amount of force to pull one of these drawers. It's like something like 50 pounds of force if you wanted to break that magnetic seal. It's not a seal, but you get the idea. Anyway, those have worked out fantastically. The number of times that you've realized that you forgot to like latch all your doors or whatever the mechanism is that your drawers have in your RV, and then you have to pull over because your drawers keep slamming around. It's really annoying. This all just happens automatically. You just never really have to think about it. And this switch here is simply to just disable the locking function. So if you had the van running and you wanted to open one of these drawers, you just switch them off. Otherwise, you just leave them on all the time, and it works out great. We got our switch here for the water heater and our 110 outlet, and then also some USB outlets here, and just a 12-volt cigarette plug. So if you wanted to, have any kind of accessory or anything like that, you can put that there as well. Over here, the shower is like our classic Ready.Set.Van shower with this beautiful white acrylic interior, which is just so nice. It's like very glass-like. It's just beautiful. The floor is a stainless steel shower pan that we have fabricated with a teak shower mat on top of it. So it's just got a really nice vibe in there. This client is going to be supplying their own toilet. That's why it's not in here right now. But we can put pretty much any toilet in these showers as well. So yeah, all right, let's check out the bed area. So in the back here, we've got a full-size mattress. It's an 8-inch foam mattress. They're very comfortable. We got windows on either end, which is great. So you can open both of those up, get some nice cross ventilation while you're sleeping, which is of course always great. I mentioned the overheads down this side. Of course, we have overheads on this side too. And yeah, it's just really nice to be able to have this much storage in a van. And it's just great. I mean, more storage is always better. But I mentioned it before, but the fact that having that additional height kind of really made it possible to put these overheads in here. And the main reason is just because like in a Promaster, if you put overheads on the full-size overheads on the passenger side, they're just going to be really low, and you're going to wake up in the middle of the night and just bonk your head on them, and you don't really want to do that. And here it really gives you enough room, so it's sort of not an issue. And also you just don't really feel, there's sort of a claustrophobic vibe if you do overhead sometimes on the passenger side in like a Promaster. Sometimes we'll do them in a Promaster and we'll just make them extra small, and that works out just fine. But these are really, really quite functional, and I think they look great too. And I mentioned before, but I'll mention again, I love this light over the kitchen. I think it's freaking awesome. We got some USB outlets over there, so whoever's sleeping on that side has a place to plug in their phone and stuff. There's also the USB outlets that are on this side, so it's always nice to be able to plug in your stuff next to you while you sleep, I feel. We got the 9500 BTU air conditioner that's right here. Of course, the Max fan's right behind me over there. And yeah, I don't know, we got nice upholstery all the way around. It's just got a nice vibe. So, all right, let's check out the garage. Okay, so our systems on board this Transit are basically the exact same that we put in all the vans we build. So whether it's a Hudson or a Highline on a Promaster or a base camper, whatever it is, we put the same systems in basically all of them. They're all Victron components. We can put battery capacities up to like around 1,000 amp hours, which is just an absolute ton. All the electrical components are located on this side. Everything's labeled and sorted out. So you shouldn't really ever need to go in there, but if you do, it's very clear and it's very easy to service. So that's important. Over on this side is where we always put our plumbing system. So this van has, I think, about 25 gallons on board. It has a 4-gallon hot water heater. We also have shower connections on the outside. And of course, we have a one switch winterizing setup. So there's a single switch that you flip in there. It's going to open up all the valves. All the water is going to drain out. And about 10 or 15 minutes later, you come back and it's just done. So that's really, really nice as well. And this client asked us to do something kind of unique. So I'm going to show you this. It's kind of interesting. So she wanted to be able to have a table that she could pull out of the back of her van to do various things. So what we did is we sort of decked over the garage area here so she can still put her things back here. Her dog's going to have a crate in back here. And then we made this little table that comes all the way out like this, which is pretty sweet. You know, whether you're doing art, whether you're, I don't know, whatever you're doing, if you want to be able to just spread out, you could get a chair and you could sit and have dinner here, which would be pretty nice. Yeah, I don't know, I really like this. I think it's pretty cool. These drawer slides are rated for a few hundred pounds. You know, I could definitely stand here and feel pretty comfortable about it. I don't know that I'd want to be standing on the end of this thing like a diving board. I've done that on the bed slide that we install sometimes. That thing is, you really can jump on the end of that like it's a diving board, but I wouldn't do that on this. I'm pretty sure we can also fit a bed slide in this van if you wanted to be able to pull your whole garage out in that way. We've done that a lot in the Hudson, but I think there's a version that we can fit in here that's not quite as big. But I just measured it. This garage is about 56 inches deep and about 40 inches wide. So that's just for reference. All right, let's slide around the side and wrap this up. So this van's really been like a big team effort here at the shop. Anytime we really develop any new layout from scratch, it's always a big effort and a lot of people working together. Whenever we roll it out on, you know, a whole new chassis, that's a whole nother thing. Because not only do we have to, you know, figure out all the nuances of our layout, but we also have to figure out, you know, all the weirdness of, you know, of the new chassis. And the Transit has a lot of weirdness, but it's really turned out wonderful. And I'm very proud of my team, and I'm just really proud of what we came up with in the end. I hope you really like it. I really appreciate you being here. I really hope that whatever you got going on right now, I hope it's going great. And yeah, thanks again. Peace.